Welcome back to Mountain Connections. It is our pleasure to have Jordan Platten here in studio on the couch. He's from UK. He's a digital and marketing expert and also an author. Excited to learn more about his inspiring story. Jordan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
So tell me a little bit about where you're from and what made you decide to come to the States right now.
Okay, so I'm from a place called Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, which is a little small country village or town. And so I'm over here in the States at the moment because I'm actually just hosted an event in New York City last Saturday, a marketing event to our audience in New York, because I've actually never hosted an event in the US before. So I wanted to come over here, get all this sorted, and I reached out to you guys. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you for taking the time and coming out here. Is your first time to Utah?
It is, first time to Utah, and it's such a beautiful place.
Well, welcome, welcome. Yeah. So tell me about your event last weekend. How did that go?
It went really, really well. So we had about 250 aspiring entrepreneurs from New York, come from all over actually. We had people flying over and we taught them how to start their own marketing companies. So it was amazing to see what a difference that audience were from the UK-based audience. Yeah, it was really, really great fun. I love hosting these events. So.
Was it intimidating though, your first event here in the States?
Yeah, massively, massively. Even beforehand, I was thinking, are people actually going to turn up? Are people actually going to come? But it went really, really well. It went better than I expected it to go, but no, it was massively intimidating.
Well, let's discuss how you got to where you are.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your background, growing up. What did you want to do? What made you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I've always been very entrepreneurial from a very young age. So, I mean, even from a kid, I wanted to work as soon as I possibly could. So I got a paper round in my local village where I grew up, and I'd deliver papers for like £10 a week out to like $10 a week. And I worked my way up for a series of jobs. I had like 10 jobs before the age of 20 years old. I actually managed to get sacked from 4 of them. I was always that kid in school that they said if Jordan just paid a bit more attention, if Jordan just listened, and he has so much more potential. And it's because I think I struggled with authority and I struggled with management at that time in my life. And there's this pressure in the UK, certainly where I grew up, that you had to go to university to be successful. So my dad kind of said, right, Jordan, you need to go to university, you need to do something. And I went to university and I actually started like a nightclubs event business along the side of that, where I was hosting nightclub events for my peers, and I was going out quite a lot when I was in uni, and I actually managed to get kicked off my course. So it's a bit different to the generic dropped out of university. I actually got kicked off, which was a really low point in my life. But at that point, I thought, okay, I need to get a job. I need to do what do normal people do. And just because I want to be a business owner doesn't mean I can't be happy if I just have a job. So I worked my way up the corporate sales ladder, and I got myself in a fairly cushy position at the age of 22 years old, where I was taking in around $70,000 a year, which was a really good wage in the UK for that age bracket. But I was still not happy with the position that I was in because I didn't have the freedom to be able to enjoy that. I didn't have the freedom to be able to inspire other people, which is something else that I'd always wanted to do. I'd always wanted to captivate an audience of young aspiring entrepreneurs, and that job role, I didn't see myself ever being able to do that if I stayed there. And so I was actually reading a book at the time. It's Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits, and I was reading it, and there was a quote in there that said that you should never ask people for advice who aren't in the position that you want to be in, because they're not qualified to give you advice. And so that day literally changed everything. I called up a friend who was in the position that I wanted to be in, who already had a successful business. And I called him up and I moaned about my job like I always used to do with my friends and family. And he just snapped at me. And he was like, Jordan, I've had enough. Like, you cannot call me up and moan about this stuff. I'm not having your negativity in my life. You need to accept that you're the only person who's responsible for the position you're in, and only you can change this. And to cut a really long story short, fast forward, literally 2 weeks later, I managed to quit my job. I started a mentoring business where I started helping people in marketing, which was the industry that I worked in with my jobs and sales. 3 months onto that, I scaled up at a pretty respectable level, and fast forward to today, it feels amazing to be here in front of you doing this interview. And yeah, I've had the pleasure of mentoring thousands of people all over the world and helping them to scale marketing businesses of their own. And yeah, it's just a really surreal position to be in, really 2 years, after I actually launched that business. So that's in summary, that's in a nutshell me.
You're so honest about your background, which I really appreciate, about how teachers didn't feel like you were living up to your potential. You actually got kicked out. You were fired. But that's inspiring, and it really helps relate to people. Was that really difficult, though, when you think back to your school days, to college, where you had a very clear goal, it sounds like, but getting there the traditional way wasn't the right thing for you to do?
Yeah, it was really hard, because I think society sets so many expectations on you as a person, and based on what other people are doing, what normal people see as success. And success is something which is different to absolutely everybody. Nobody can tell somebody or put a set definition on success, because what that may mean to person A means something completely different to person B. So for me, I always knew that I wanted to be in a position where I could motivate people. And I knew when I was in my teens, I felt really trapped that in the way that I didn't have a clear direction of what path I wanted to take. But I always used to say to my friends, even back then, I really want to be somebody I want to do motivational speaking, I want to be able to be a business mentor, I want to be able to help people who are me, but in 10 years' time when I'm in that position to be able to do so. And my biggest realization was just that all I needed to do was get started. And I always thought I need the right vehicle to get me there, but I didn't realize that if I just started I started a YouTube channel. So that's actually where I started out. I started making YouTube videos trying to inspire people, and it just caught off. And that snowball effect and that momentum started coming, and that's kind of what's brought me through to today. But yeah, it was definitely a struggle, because I felt misunderstood for the majority of my teenage years.
Well, you have a lot of guts, I have to say. I read, it's not that you just quit your job when you were in sales, we actually fired your boss. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so when I was in my sales job, I was working, as I said, so I was working for this guy, and I was their business development manager at the time. So I was doing so much for them, and I was earning so much money for them. And for me, it was really frustrating, because as a person who wanted to be successful, I saw how much work I was putting in, and he wasn't really doing a lot of work at all, which was really, really frustrating. And so it was just the greatest pleasure in the world to go to him and say that, look, I'd already actually started my business whilst I was working, and I was like, look, this is it for me. I'm done. I'm out of here. And at the time, I'll never forget it. He tried to speak me out of it for so long. He was like, Jordan, you're not going to be successful. It's not going to work if you just lose. Because I was running social media adverts for local companies, and I only had 3 clients at the time. So he was saying, Jordan, if you lose 1 client, you lose 1/3 of your revenue, and you're not going to be successful, and I'll see you back here in time. And I was like, look, trust me. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this work no matter what. And even if I don't, I'm not going to come back to this place. So
that must have been a little terrifying to go out on your own, but here you are now. Yeah. Describe to me what you're doing. You're an author, digital marketing expert, you're putting on events. Sounds like you have a lot of interest, and you're very motivating to help individuals who have a dream like yours. What exactly are you doing?
So in a nutshell, we have 2 segments of the business. One is a digital marketing agency where we help local businesses in the UK and internationally to market themselves using Facebook and Instagram. So how to utilize the power of social media to advertise themselves. But my true passion, the main side of our business, I own a training business called the Social Media Marketing School. It's the fastest growing digital marketing school in the UK, and we mentor people all over the world who, as I said, were like me, young aspiring entrepreneurs, but not just young entrepreneurs, all ages. So we don't eliminate anybody. People who want to be successful, but they don't have the correct vehicle to get them there. So we take them on board, we teach them about sales training, we teach them about the fundamentals of business, we teach them how to market themselves, and more importantly, how to get results for businesses. So essentially, we're teaching people how to replicate our business model on the agency side of things.
Where can we get more information about you and your business and everything you're involved in?
Okay, so I'm on YouTube. I'm very active in there. Jordan Platten is Jordan Platten. You can find me on Instagram or on my website, socialmediamarketing.school.
Perfect. Any advice for someone who's maybe where you were at the beginning, stuck somewhere that's not quite working, maybe a little down on their luck because they've been kicked out or fired or something like that? What advice would you give them?
Okay, 2 things. Number one, the biggest thing that changed for me when I decided that I was going to be successful, because I think that you can decide to be successful, was when I learned that you are the only person responsible for the position you're in your life. And once you accept that, you learn to fail forward, and you learn that every mistake you make, what you think is a mistake, every failure which you think is a failure, you will learn from it, and you'll become a better person, you'll become a better business person, and everything you do after that is going to be more successful. So that would be my best advice.
Well, it was a pleasure having you here. You're very motivating, very inspiring. It's such a fun story, Jordan. You'll have to come back.
No, thank you so much for being. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for being here. All right, Jordan Platten, you want to check him out online. Read more about his story. It is very motivating, and I love it. Fail forward. That is great advice. All right, we have more Mountain Connections right after this.